Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is a new era tonight. It is a new dynasty, possibly. The dynasty of Freddie Aloso. Well, we'll judge how that went. But tonight, we are together. It is the Devil's Advocate and the Encyclopedia. I've known the Devil's Advocate much longer than I knew the other two guys, so this is very timely and very nice to be with my longtime friend Rob here tonight. So Rob, welcome to this new era. We don't know what we're calling this thing yet. Time will tell. If you guys have ideas, we want to hear them. So reach out to us, send us messages, whatever you need to do. We'll figure this thing out. And I toss it over to the Devil's Advocate for his normal weekly fun intro.
Yeah, I mean, let's tell us what you like, what you don't like. You know, this is a new era. You know, the two-man power trip will once again be a three-man trio once the Reverend gets back from his pilgrimage in Mecca, doing his charity work. But let's get the show started. So usually I do, your deaths or your birthdays. There's two deaths I want to mention. In 1990, we lost Gory Guerrero. If you're not familiar with Gory Guerrero, please get out from under whatever rock you're under. He's the man who birthed all the Guerreros, mainly Eddie, and Chavo, and all those other great Guerreros. And the other man I wanted to mention in 2018, we lost Bruno Sammartino, one of the greatest WWF champions of all time. So I wanted to make sure we speak their names. So Anthony, Encyclopedia, Blackbeard, what are we talking about tonight?
Well, before we get there, as you said, the Reverend is on a pilgrimage to Mecca. I guess the building fund's been depleted, so he's begging for money somewhere. So I'll try to cover some of the historical stuff. First off, believe it or not, 24 years ago, on April 18th, which is when we were recording, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Triple H versus Taz, WWF champion versus ECW champion. The only time that ever happened.
I remember it well.
Yes, Tommy Dreamer, fuck you. We still don't like you. Actually,
no, actually, in a new era, we should say how much we love Tommy Dreamer.
I'll be honest. I met the guy. He was very nice and friendly when I met him.
I would say I have as well, and his lovely wife was also very nice.
Yeah. So, we'll do a little throwback. I met him at a Northeast Wrestling show in Washingtonville, New York, years ago. Got my photo with him, and Beulah was not there for the autograph part, but she was in the stands while he was wrestling, and I think he was wrestling a Monsters Ball match with Abyss. And one daughter looked upset. Beulah was just, focused. You could tell that she had, she was in the wrestling world. And I think the other daughter was reading a book or playing a video game or something, oblivious, didn't care. Fun stuff there.
Typical kids.
Yeah, right. So fun stuff there. But so here tonight, I mentioned a new dynasty, or we're going to see about the dynasty that Freddie left. We'll judge where that goes or where it went. I know I'm all over the place with that. But speaking of the dynasty, there is a dynasty this weekend. It is AEW's first time ever dynasty pay-per-view. And on paper, it looks like quite the card. So we're going to do what we've always done. We will give you our picks. We'll give you our thoughts. We'll talk about the buildup or lack thereof. Hint, hint. So the good Reverend did take some time away from his pilgrimage and prayer to give us his picks. So we will include what he thought as well, whether or not he's wrong. And let's start off with the FTW Championship is on the line. And kind of interesting that it's being defended by Hook against Lionheart Chris Jericho, which is, I believe, his character when the FTW title debuted.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So very timely in that respect. Other than that, Chris, what are you doing? Why do you keep throwing back to other versions of your character? Stick with one. The Lionheart thing when you're in your mid-50s is kind of weird to me. I don't know. And this whole setup, and hey, I guess Taz finally got in the ring, huh?
Yeah, This is not doing it for me. I'm starting to turn on Jericho like a lot of the fans are. He can't cut it in the ring really anymore, and I don't know why he's still reserving a spot that should be taken by someone else. Like I think he should go by the way of the Hardys, either move to the background, become an agent, or retire. And from what I understand, I think Fozzie's going out on tour this summer or very shortly. So I think this will be the blow off. So I'm going to pick Hook, knowing that. I think the one thing you can say for him is that if he's going to put Hook over again, because Hook's already beaten him once, at least he's putting people over on the way out. But I hope this is on the way out because he's getting to the point where he's going to start. To me, he's getting Flair territory where he's going to start hurting his legacy if he's not careful.
So my issue with this match, as far as who's going to win, didn't Hook just beat Jericho about 3-4 weeks ago?
Yes, on Dynamite.
So you and Jason also picked Hook. You both think that Hook's going to win again.
Yeah.
I think there's a more longer term story if you have Jericho win. I'm probably overthinking it, but I'm actually going to go opposite you guys and go with Jericho. I know what you said about the summer tour. He has managed to tour and still wrestle. And I didn't see anything indicating that he was taking that much time off, if any. So I just think there's more of a storyline here if you have Jericho. But it's not like AEW is known for long-term storylines.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, too, is I'm surprised there's no stipulation added to this match. Right? Because, I mean, at FTW is that no rules? I don't think so, right?
I think it varies.
So you would think then if there would be a no rules match or something like that because they've already done a straight match.
Yeah.
So I'm questioning this whole thing, but all right, I can see your point, but I can also see our point. So I'm just going to stick with Hook. I'm fine with my pick.
That's fine. That's why you're the champion and I'm not, even though I'm the uncrowned champion. Because overall record, I actually am beating you, buddy. You're only beating me since you became champ. I looked it up. I got to claim something here because we're still probably a year or two away from being able to knock you off your pedestal.
When we relaunch, we could relaunch the championship.
That I would rather win it legit personally. I think Jason would feel the same way, but we could figure that all out.
It's a discussion worth having.
All right.
I'm willing to give in my crown to win it again. I mean, because right now I think I've been champ longer than Roman Reigns, longer than Hulk Hogan.
We're not Hogan territory yet, and you still got San Martino. That you still got about 5 years.
That'll never happen. 7 years. Get out of here.
We'll have a TV deal by then.
God, or we'll all be dead, one or the other.
Jeez. All right. So house rules for the AEW TBS Championship. We have Julia Hart defending against Willow Nightingale. And folks, let's remind you, in all likelihood, the winner of this will be the one facing Mercedes Money. Apparently it's Money. I heard her say Money this week. I thought Monet sounded better, but
I don't know. Who cares? I don't like her.
I know you don't like her.
Call her whatever you want.
So anyway, so this one's interesting. I know the Reverend picked Julia Hart. He thinks Statlander's going to turn on Willow. It's an interesting theory.
They've been teasing it. They've been teasing it.
That's true. I'm glad to see him after his pilgrimage from Japan. He managed to catch up that much. Jeez.
I guess they get cable where he is. I'm going to go with Julia Hart as well. I think the Willow thing's been done already.
Okay.
So I think Julia Hart would be a better matchup, I guess. I don't know. Another match I really don't care too much about.
Okay. I'm going Willow because there was the history where Mercedes was in the ring with Willow when she was injured, and I think there's still a payoff there. Otherwise, why the hell did you have Mercedes not going for the world championship? Or is that Tony Khan trying to do something different because he knows everyone figures his new toys are going to get him an immediate title shot and then get faded to obscurity. The latest one, Deonna Purrazzo.
It's a
I'm
longer
thinking,
list than that.
yeah, I know. I'm just going with the latest because when Deonna debuted, we were speculating, yeah, how long is he going to stay his shiny new toy? And I like Deonna, I do, but honestly, the wave the hand thing and you've been doing the same shtick for like 4 years now. And
I'm all about,
WWE didn't get the virtuoso thing. I keep having to look up what virtuoso means, and I'm like, I don't think anybody really got it. I'm glad you had some success and impact. How many people were watching? Sorry.
I'm really not all that impressed with her, character-wise or wrestling-wise. So,
I'm disappointed. Yeah.
all right.
All right. So this match, I still don't understand where this came from. So we got the TNT champion Adam Copeland, not defending his title. We're gonna do a 6-person or trios match. I'm sorry, we're in AEW. It's trios. So it's Adam Copeland, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Briscoe. I mean, I tell you, Kingston's got the worst luck since the last pay-per-view, huh? Dropped 2 titles.
And him and Briscoe just wrestled. He
Right.
just lost to Briscoe, so now they're making them team.
Yeah, and Briscoe. So Briscoe, for those of you that don't know, is your Ring of Honor champion now. He beat Eddie Kingston a few weeks ago on WrestleMania weekend, and they are facing the House of Black. I think we're going to get a Malachi Black, Adam Copeland match at some point. I'm guessing that's going to be a Double or Nothing. For that reason, I got to go with Black here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Black as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're going to.
I don't care too much about, but House
of
Black have to start winning.
I got to say, when up until last night's Dynamite, I was at least grateful that there was only 8 matches, and then they had a 9th one, and I'm like, this is going to be another 4-hour ordeal. Say what you will about WWE, at least WrestleMania Night 1 was kept moving, and you might have gotten tired at points, but I tell you, an AEW pay-per-view, they don't pace it well.
AEW has over WWE's. I'm never 100% sure about AEW who's going to win.
That's true.
WWE, they do an amazing job setting things up. But the last 5 or 6 pay-per-views, we've all gone almost perfect, if not perfect.
I think
we already know who's going to win.
And I think so. It's good to mix things up at times, the way AEW does as far as the results go. I also think they're WWE is trying to really give fans what they want. The thing is, I think, well, we can discuss this shortly, but I have some thoughts about that. All right. Okada, great debut, coming all the way from Japan to win the Continental Championship. Really? Come on, folks. Let's be honest. Okada and Ospreay are only here for the money. Let's face it. Anybody signing with AEW right now that's a big name, you're there for the money, because you can't tell me. Right. You can't tell me performing in front of 3,000 people makes you think, oh, yeah, I made the right decision. So Okada's defending the newly won Continental Championship against Pac. Maybe I should save us the trouble. Does anyone think Pac's got a hope in hell?
No, which is a shame too, because Pac is really good character and really good wrestler, but Okada's not going to drop this belt yet.
No.
Not if they're just winning it.
Yep. Agreed.
I noticed you still have Freddie's column here in our spreadsheet, huh?
I didn't know if he was going to appear, or it could be pure laziness.
Doesn't matter. Just thought it was funny. I'm like, he forgot to make his picks a couple times anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Folks, let's be honest. Part of the reason why he's not here anymore is he can't pick wrestling as well as he does the NFL. That's a fact.
Wasn't he the champion at some point?
Yeah, when we started. When we started, I think Steve, you were the one that appended Stevie G, right?
Yes.
So yes, Freddie was the first one, and then Steven won it from him.
So you're the only one who hasn't been champion.
Yeah, I talk a lot of shit for someone that's never actually won anything. All right. Now here's 2 women that have won something. We have Timeless Toni Storm and probably one of the most interesting characters they have on that show the last several months. And she's defending against Thunder Rosa. So the good Reverend says Rosa, who's going to regain what she never really lost. I don't agree with that.
I don't either. I don't understand Thunder Rosa.
Thank you.
I just don't get it. I mean, if I had to pick, like if I was AEW and I've got Tony Storm the way she is and her challenger's Thunder Rosa, I'm like, well, Thunder Rosa, give her a good match, but you're not winning.
Yeah.
I just don't understand her character. Like sometimes she's got makeup on, sometimes she doesn't. Like, or it's like half makeup, full makeup. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. So
Yeah. Oh well. All right. The International Championship is on the line. Like we didn't see this coming last month, the last pay per view or Evolution. Roderick Strong defending against Kyle O'Reilly. The Reverend has picked Nick Strong.
what I don't understand about this match is while we all knew it was going to happen, it seemed like it happened so random.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all of a sudden they just decided to turn on Kyle O'Reilly for what reason I don't know.
Because he didn't want to join them.
Right, but I mean like there was no build to it. It's like they just attacked him right after a match.
What build does AEW really have?
It was just very strange. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Strong?
Yes.
All right. For the fourth time, we have the Young Bucks against FTR. This time in a World Tag Team Championship ladder match. Now the Reverend has picked FTR. They kind of have to win here, he said, don't they?
No, they don't.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think they need to win here. What I think has been the most compelling so-called part of the story was airing footage of a guy that's working for New Japan and a guy that's working for your competition. Really?
Oh,
But
Young
it
Bucks.
popped a rating, and TBS
Hey,
called Tony Khan and praised him for it.
did you see what Kenny Omega said recently? He said that he thinks he's a really bad AVP.
Yeah, he did.
I give him credit for that.
I do too, but take a demotion then.
Well, maybe he will. Maybe when he returns. I mean, maybe now he's looking back because he's not trying to wrestle and be an executive, and
Mhm.
he's saying to himself, "I stink at that part." And maybe one of the reasons why he's staying as an AVP is because he can't wrestle. It could be something as simple as he needs the benefits. You know what I mean? But I would not be surprised if you see him come back and him being like, I'm no longer AVP. I'm going to drop that title. I'm just going to wrestle. And maybe when I retire, I'll go back. You know what I mean? Like he might be hanging on that title just because he may not be able to wrestle again. If he can't wrestle again, at least he's an AVP, you know? But I thought it
I'd
was quite refreshing for him to turn around and say, I'm not doing a good job.
I'd be curious to hear what he thinks he needs to change. Because it's one thing to say I'm not a very good EVP. It's another thing to also share why he feels that way.
True. True.
I We've beat this horse to death. No wrestler, active wrestler, should be an EVP in the same company that they're wrestling in.
They shouldn't be Booker. They shouldn't be anything.
Right. Be that as it may, I'm picking Young Bucks. I don't see them
Yep.
losing again. I
No,
mean,
I don't either.
what have they've lost two of the three?
Yeah, I think something like that. Plus,
Yeah,
I just read that the Motor City Machine Guns
I'm
are coming to
signing.
AEW.
Yeah,
So I see, the Young Bucks and them having some rematches. But I don't
take that
see.
money, guys.
Hey, look, they deserve it. They've put in the time.
Yeah.
They're one of the better tag teams that ever existed. It's probably their last chance to make the money. Let them do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the one thing AEW always had was remember they were tag teams centric.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're not. Now we're at a serious lack of tag teams. So I'm okay with them bringing in an established team and letting them run some matches. Let them fight the Young Bucks. Let them fight FTR. You want to be the alternative to WWE. This is how you do it,
Yeah.
right? You go in a different direction, and different direction is trios and tag teams. And like I've talked about before, women
Hmm.
push the women more because I mean, look at with Rhea hurt now. There's a real vacuum on Raw. All of a sudden, everybody's starting to go, I don't wonder who they're going to put the belt on
Yeah.
because it's like Becky. Oh, that's a different topic. Let's move on to this. Let's
Ooh,
take this.
that's a
We'll
good
come back
one.
to it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one, actually.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Let's stick with the pay-per-view. We're getting off
Okay.
topic.
All right. The AEW World Championship is not your main event, which is totally fine. I'll give them kudos for that because WWE for the longest time is hung up on the title has to go on last all the time. We have Samoa Joe facing Swerve Strickland. And the good Reverend has chosen Swerve with the explanation I love Joe as champ, but I'm picking Swerve until he's a champion. That's an interesting way to think about it.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, really, this is Swerve's last chance.
That I could see.
It should be anyway. If he doesn't win now, then Joe moves on to somebody else.
That I agree with. The other thing is, I'm like, the audiences are dwindling, at least in person. Maybe the ratings are the same. I'll say the same. Some have speculated they've gone down a little bit. Maybe they have, but I'd say they've leveled off. Do you really do a title change if you can't get people to put butts in the seats, put a butt every 18 inches or 18 feet, whatever the saying is, when with Swerve as your challenger? Do you really think making him champion is going to improve that? I don't think so.
I don't think Joe was ever planned to be a long-term champion.
Do you think he's actually held it longer than they initially planned?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think they've done a really good job building up this feud. But Swerve has to win now. I don't know what you do with him if he doesn't. I mean, the only other thing I could have seen them doing, I'm surprised they didn't have to. I would have thought they would have had him go after the TBS championship first, and then build up a little more. But I'm okay. I love Samoa Joe. I think he's promos are great. He's a legitimate killer, right? You can believe what he says, and he can deliver in the ring, even at an advanced stage, even with a little heavier than I think he should be. But I think you have to make Swerve your champion now, or you wasted all this time. I mean, he's probably in your top three, right? Him, Christian, Moxley still get pops more than anybody else, right? Danielson. So I mean, you got at some point you got to move. You got to put it on Strickland. I don't know what you do with him if you don't. Where do you pivot him to?
International title?
Mm. I mean, Joe will can always be someone you can put the title back on if things aren't working.
Mm.
I mean, I wish Joe was 5 years younger, because when he went through MJF and got the title, he could hold on to it for a while, but I don't think he's built that way. I think he's going to start breaking down at some point.
That's why WWE was afraid to put the belt on him.
Right.
Well, Vince was a body guy.
So you don't think they're going to put it on Swerve?
I don't see business wise what that's going to do. I feel like he would. In some respects, I feel like it's what happened with LA Knight. Swerve was hot for a while, but I think fans are kind of like, okay, it's fun. It's fun to do the little Nana dance, but then chant a little bit. But is that really doing anything for their business? I'm not sure. I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna try to be smart about this pick and agree with you guys simply because you had Samoa Joe basically dominating Swerve in the entire setup for the most part. There wasn't too many times Swerve got the advantage. Almost every single time by the end, Samoa Joe was standing tall. I mean, we still got collision, but I don't think anything's going to change there. So I'm going to agree with you guys. I'll go with Swerve. I was a little curious to see if maybe MJF was going to be back and he'd face Samoa Joe again, but I don't think you need the title to do that at this point.
No, I
And
was gonna say
and there's been
exactly.
and there's no update. There was no update on MJF or his status. So
The other thing I'm surprised AEW hasn't got any flack for is they have not had a black heavyweight champion yet. They have not had a black tag team championship yet. And
Scorpio Sky.
for what, a second, a couple of years ago?
It still happened.
I'm just saying, I think this would be, if you're going to go down that road, this would be the way to do it. You put Swerve at the top and you start promoting him. We've got a black heavyweight champion, and we support all that. And I think he's great. I like his character. I don't care what color he is. Doesn't bother me in the least. I think he's great. I think he's got some moves. He's got mic work. But I could see Tony Khan using this as a way to try to promote him. So I don't know. It's just an angle.
Yeah. All right. And in our main event, we have Will Ospreay facing Bryan Danielson. There's been a lot of build up there. Not too much interaction between the two men in the match, though.
They don't need it, though.
Then why have the other interactions? That's the only part I don't understand. I'm wondering.
What do you mean the other interactions?
With the Callis family and Blackpool Combat Club this week. But I'm wondering if Ospreay's going to end up joining Blackpool Combat Club because he doesn't fit in with that Callis family.
No, when they were beating down Castagnoli, he wanted no part of it.
Right, and there's the ties there. Ospreay is British. News, folks, if you don't realize Blackpool Combat Club is a throwback to William Regal. I don't know what to tell you. I think we all know that since Regal was here in the beginning. So what better way to honor him than to have one of the greatest wrestlers out there today and a fellow Brit joining his group?
So you were not you had never seen Ospreay wrestle before?
Not really. I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
My next question is going to be, are you impressed?
I love that finisher. I still don't quite understand when he's comes out and there's the Ospreay, and then he goes to the next side. I mean, he's built that up well enough. Just like everybody, I wish he would sell a little bit more, but he definitely has it going on. I like him. I sometimes find myself humming his theme song in my head. And honestly, I don't think. Do we know this is Danielson's last full-time year? I don't think he needs to win. He doesn't need a win here. I think you're trying to build Ospreay up, and another way to help with that, have him beating Bryan and Danielson. So I agree with the Reverend who picked Ospreay, and I see you nodding your head. I want to hear what you think.
I think Ospreay's going to win. The only thing I'm trying to figure out is that is there going to be a series of matches? Because you could make a case that Danielson wins here in the States. They have a rematch in Japan, and Ospreay wins there. But I don't know what the plan is. So I'm going to go with, I think Ospreay's going to win.
Okay. All right. So those are our picks. Thank you for joining us this week. No, I'm kidding. Now, leading into this, we touched on this a little bit last week. AEW decided to incorporate into the FTR Young Bucks storyline the all-in footage of CM Punk versus Jack Perry. And I know we analyzed whether it was the right thing to do. Punk's working for the competition. Jack Perry's working for one of your partners. And what did this really do? Even for the FTR Young Bucks storyline, it was like, well, FTR wasn't in the footage, Young Bucks weren't in the footage, and Young Bucks used it as a weak excuse. I don't think you needed to show the footage to do that. This was like a cheap pop moment. What I'm curious about, Tony Khan has said, he was asked a question at a conference. What do you think the fans' perception was of this airing? What are your thoughts? And he reverted to the ratings. Oh, we got a great rating on it. TBS called me and said how great it was. Okay. I looked at the ratings. The ratings have been slowly trickling down a little bit since the opening segment, it's a weekly occurrence on Dynamite. If you look at the quarter by quarter, did it go up a little bit? Yes. Did it drop right back down as soon as that segment was over? Yes. So when Tony Khan says something like this, to me, it screams short term. He's looking for the short term wins, and he's not thinking long term for anything. And it's like, you're running a company. I think he was also quoted as saying that he knows he can't be CEO and head of creative forever, but he thinks right now he can handle it. He's doing fine. And I'm not, I could be sarcastic up to you guys are probably sick of hearing it. New era, trying to be a little bit more optimistic. Is Tony Khan lack long-term vision now, especially with them going to a monthly pay-per-view format? What do you think here?
I mean, he definitely does. I mean, it's painfully obvious, right? Some of these things happen, like we were just talking about, the Roderick Strong turn just happened. Like they could have dragged that out for a longer amount of time. They could have done a lot more things. They could have. I mean, if you're gonna do something in the short term, it's got to be definitive. Like they were making it like they were all buddy friends, and all of a sudden they decided to turn on him. It was like almost like you knew it was coming, but you were kind of like, this week, really? Like you could have dragged this out for a couple more weeks. I mean, the other thing you have to remember, we're spoiled right now because we got the Triple H era now, and they just came off one of the greatest storyline, arguably the greatest storyline of all time, and it's not over yet. And they're adding more components. And I think I've said to you in the past, one of the characteristics of a great storyline is being able to add other components and not lose the original goal or the original focus. That remains to be seen whether that happens. But how long has the bloodline been going on? 2 years? Longer?
It's been longer. Roman, I'm trying to think. Roman won the belt. He won it back in 2020. So, and then the Jey Uso feud happened almost immediately. So,
It's 4 years. Does that sound right?
it's 3.5 right now. It's just over
3.5 years.
3.5. Yeah.
I mean, that's virtually impossible to do, right? The NWO, I think, lasted that long, but we all knew it was running on fumes for the last year or so. And then I'm trying to think of any really other long-term storylines. There's not too many other ones that you can
Maybe
come
the
up
Four Horsemen,
with. I mean, they come and go,
but they were in waves.
right? Because Flair would leave, Flair would come back. Don't do that. So we're very spoiled, right? Because I mean the Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon lasted several years, right? So I mean, we've been spoiled in those respects. AEW, I don't know if they don't have the personnel. Tony Khan certainly doesn't have the vision, and I don't know if you can replicate that. I don't think they should. I think if they're going to be alternative to WWE, they should have shorter angles. And if one happens to sprout on its own, well, good for them. Then run with it. Like the Christian angle's been going on for a while, but I guess that's over now, right? I mean, he's gone for a bit.
Yeah, he disappeared. And
But I mean,
honestly, he was one of the most entertaining parts of that show, I felt.
But I mean, that's what they do. And
Right.
honestly,
Right.
what is Christian going to do now? Is he going to go after Edge again? No. Is he going to go after Okada? No. Is he going to go after Swerve as the new champion? Maybe that's why you put the belt on Swerve, because Swerve is kind of a tweener.
You could do the same with Christian versus Samoa Joe as well. We never saw that.
But
And maybe an Impact we did or TNA, but it's
True.
been a while.
True. But I think they're running with Swerve. And I think they should. I think they should. If they're going to run with Swerve, then he should get Christian. He should get Copeland. They should start giving him all top contenders and make him look like a world champion. Don't throw him any softballs. Don't give me the Butcher and the Blade on Dynamite as a challenger. Give me all the top names, and they should almost kind of do what they do with Roman. Have Strickland really only wrestle on the pay-per-views. Make that title seem more important. Because to me, the AEW title doesn't seem all that important. I mean, you're either going workhorse champion or you're either going Seth or you're going Roman, right? You're either going to defend the title every week or you're going to only defend it on the pay-per-views. You should pick a lane and stay there. So I don't know what Tony Khan's thinking. Like you said, I think he goes short term, and to me, that's the worst possible way to book. I don't know, just because the payoffs are minimal, right? But we've been complaining about him for months, so years almost. Our angle, that's our angle.
I think it's what we do want to see them succeed. And in the first year, a couple years, like at least they were long, like the whole MJF Chris Jericho storyline. That was like a better part of a year. So they do have the ability to pull it off. It's just something's been missing for a while. And I know I joked in the past that they blew their load on everything they could think of at this point. So now they're skating on by. And while we're condemning their lack of long-term vision, we're also wondering, we're going with this monthly pay-per-view format. Now, I joke that they're indie-rific and they put on these dream matches to get people interested, which is fine, except when you got a monthly pay-per-view and a weekly show to support. At this point, what's the point of Forbidden Door? You're bringing people in anytime you want anyway. I mean, God, Bryan Danielson's retirement tour. Look at the names they brought in. Not just on pay-per-view. They've had it on Collision, for example. Does Wrestle Dream and Forbidden Door mean anything anymore? It's just another show.
Well, especially now that you have Moxley holding the
IWGP title. Yeah.
I mean,
by the way, they raved about all these former WWE people they brought in and how it was going to make the product better with creative, with the cameras, with the, the technical graphics and all that shit. Moxley comes out last night and I noticed he comes in and I'm looking and you could see all the rows right above the door he came in were completely empty. And I was like, there are so many other entrances with people and you chose one of the almost empty ones. Are you kidding me? Like, it's little things like that. It's like, really? Does Tony Khan get off on people making fun of the low attendances? I just don't get it.
They really need to move to smaller venues.
Yeah.
And they don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, look, as bad as the Thunderdome era was, like in terms of visual, at least you understood that there was a smaller crowd and the reaction and what have you. And in the mid 90s, WWE went to smaller venues for a while. They survived.
Right. You follow the business. Business
is
down, you go smaller. You don't spend more money.
Yeah, I mean, I give them credit. The pay-per-views, at least, they seem to be selling well enough. So at least that's working for them. But that seems to be it. I'm gonna have to go smaller for a while because It's really hard, and they do an okay job with it. It's not perfect, but it's got to be really hard for that camera crew to try to hide the fact that the upper bowl is completely empty and the entire left side is empty, the hard cam side. Anyway, I digress.
No.
Now, let's go into competition a little bit. NXT, there's a rumor going round that we know next week is the draft, and that the draft is going to allow NXT to make some picks. And the rumor is NXT may be looking to reestablish themselves as a third brand in the WWE umbrella, which has been missing. It really started changing through the pandemic through no fault of their own, but then it became NXT 2.0 the second Hunter had some health issues. To the point that, audiences dropped, they ended up having to move nights, all sorts of stuff. What will it take to bring NXT back to the true third brand status, at least to have the following they did in that black and gold era? Because I feel like it's possible, but there's still some issues there, and there's still some stuff that needs to change. Before I go off on some sort of probably 2-minute tirade, because I don't have a ton to say here. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I don't know why they'd want to have a third brand. I think they needed developmental. I don't think anybody's going to look at the NXT title and say, "Well, it's right up there with the World Heavyweight title." So I don't think it's a mistake. I think it should be the minor leagues, and I don't think there's any problem with that. And I don't think it's any problem with guys going down and working with people. It just gives them more experience. But I don't know why you'd want to do that. Where are they supposed to get their experience? Where are they supposed to learn how to perform in front of crowds? You're putting a lot of pressure on a bunch of young people, especially since they're trying to bring in non-wrestlers, right? Someone who's wrestled the indies isn't going to be nearly as intimidated as someone who's a former volleyball player or a tennis player who they decide they want to try to make a wrestler. They're going to have no idea what they're doing. So I think it's a mistake. I don't think they should do it.
Okay. So, and there was something you said there that triggered something, and now I forgot. Yay. Just ruined the segment. No.
Yeah, I'm the old one.
Well, you mentioned them being developmental, and you think that's the way to go. I don't disagree, but you said it yourself. Now I remember. You said it yourself. You said they got to work in front of crowds and learn how to do that. They're working in front of the same crowd 90% of the time. And I think that's the biggest problem. That same group is coming in for every NXT taping. It was the same thing during the black and gold era for a while. The difference was that black and gold, they actually toured a little bit. And not just in the state of Florida, like the next coming Florida Championship Wrestling.
Mm.
I saw NXT house show up in Poughkeepsie, New York several years ago. It was one of the better shows I've ever seen. They used to really tour for the takeover shows back in that era in bigger arenas. I mean, now they're going in obscure places for some of these. I mean, WrestleMania weekend notwithstanding, some of these locations, I'm like, huh? Really? You're going there? They've been in towns I'd never even heard of. And granted, they'll be in Toronto 4th of July weekend, so at least there's times that they are going where WWE's going, which I think is helpful because it allows the younger people to mesh with the experienced people and get some rub there. That way, learn something there. But I don't have a problem with the third brand. It's the third brand. People are not going to compare it to Raw and SmackDown on too much of a level. I think it's a way to bring them up before the CW deal. The CW, let's be honest. I mean, it doesn't have the nationwide distribution as a Fox. Totally get that. But it's still some form of network TV.
Mm-hmm.
So developmental brand, and maybe that's why they need to make this change. I don't have a problem with it being a third brand. I think you have to be strategic about who from the main rosters maybe isn't working that you bring down. But I think if they're going to stay in the performance center and tape 90% of their shows there, then you've already failed in my mind. It's the same damn crowd. That is not a way for them to learn how to work in front of different crowds, engage different crowds and different reactions. For example, I believe the joke is that Toronto's bizarro world when it comes to wrestling fans. I'm curious to see how Heat Wave in July turns out for that reason. So I hope they tour. I hope they go back to touring more. I think that's what's missing if you're going to make it return it to that third brand status.
I mean, the other problem they're going to have is you got several people on the NXT roster that are ready to move on to the main roster. There's going to be a vacuum there. You can't lose a Carmelo Hayes and a Trick Williams and a Braun Breaker and a Tiffany Stratton and all people like that, and not have backups. So I mean, even they I know they don't call it the developmental brand, but it is, because when they move them onto the main roster, that's what they call it. They call it moving it onto the main roster. They don't call them changing brands. They don't change the terminology. And everybody knows, like, when they say, is Braun Breaker going to be on Raw? Well, we don't think he's ready. What does that mean? That means you're still in the minor leagues, right? In every other sport, when they say that, like baseball and things like that, that have minor leagues, they say, well, when are they going to bring him up to the main team? Well, he's not ready yet. So if they're going to change NXT and make it a third brand, they got to change the way they talk about it. And then, like you said, they've got to include it in drafts and WrestleMania. There shouldn't be separate shows, because Raw doesn't have a separate show from SmackDown. They're together. So the NXT roster they shouldn't have separate pay-per-views. They should all be the same. SummerSlam should have 3 Raw matches, 3 SmackDown matches, and 2 NXT matches, or 3 NXT matches, something like that. Make it everything even. But when you start referring to them as not ready or moving up, or you're telling us it's minor leagues. So they got some work they got to do if they want to make that happen. I think it's a mistake.
Okay. Now, speaking of possible mistakes, Bo Dallas is rumored to be coming back in some sort of incarnation of Bray Wyatt's vision. I know we all know he was playing Uncle Howdy. And then there's talk that Eric Rowan has canceled bookings, that he's probably on his way back. So my question is, is rehashing the Bray Wyatt world, is this a good idea? Can Bo Dallas pull it off? I have my doubts personally. I think this is a terrible idea. Bray Wyatt had his world, was amazing. I mean, what a creative mind. It wasn't always perfect, but it was definitely unique. People loved it. People respected it and everything he does. That documentary they put out about 2 or 3 weeks ago, one of the best documentaries I think they've ever put out. But can Bo Dallas really reignite this universe?
I don't believe it.
Oh, I saw what you did there. You
It's a
don't
mistake.
believe?
It's a mistake. Bray Wyatt should be left alone. There are certain people you can't. I don't even call it imitate, because I don't think they're imitating. I don't think you should touch certain parts, certain things. Certain movies shouldn't be remade. Certain wrestlers shouldn't be copied. You know what I mean? There's certain things I think should be left as they're. I think it could only cheapen the legacy. If they do it wrong, it's going to look stupid. So I think they should leave it alone. I agree with you 100%. I don't think it's going to be done right. There's no reason to. It's like, it drives me crazy when they remake certain movies. Why? Why did you need to do that? The original was perfect the way it was. Right? I know they're talking about remaking Escape from New York. And Escape from New York is one of my favorite movies of all time. Don't touch it. You can't touch it. You'll never recapture what's there. It'll never be better. We've all seen remakes, and we've all gone, this movie sucks. Why did they do this? They didn't get the original. They didn't understand the spirit of the original. It was at a certain time, and now you're trying to recreate that. It's a mistake. It rarely ever works out.
I was gonna say I feel like sometimes it does work out, but it's very rare. Personally, my wife and I are watching Ripley, which is based on a story, a book, I believe, but it's also been done into a movie 25 years ago. Is there statute of limitations where maybe you could go that long and people might not remember the previous as fondly? Where you might
Ripley,
be
Aliens Ripley?
no. So in the late 90s, there was a movie called The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Oh, Mr. Ripley. Okay.
Yes. So Netflix has an 8-part limited series going on right now, which we're actually watching. And it's actually, they did it in black and white. It's really well done. It's one of the few exceptions where I'm like, I think this is going to end up turning out to be better than the original, even though it's an 8-parter. And that movie, I think, was maybe 2 hours of that. Um, but on the same note, going on what you just said, HBO Max is going to have a Harry Potter series. I feel like those movies barely ended in the last 10 years tops. And that universe is so loved. Is making a TV series, which is really a reboot of the whole thing. Is that really a great idea? I don't know. So, and going back to the Bray Wyatt thing, I agree. Leave it be. This might be one of the first huge missteps I think Triple H might be making creatively. And it'll be a noticeable one. This is a huge risk. And I'm all for them taking risk, but this is one I don't think they should be taking. Now, speaking of risks, Rock versus Cody. We know what's going to happen at some point, as long as Rock doesn't get injured. Tear an oblique or some shit like that. Does Rock versus Roman need to happen before Cody versus Roman, or should Cody versus Roman come first? What do you think?
I don't really care about The Rock. I
Okay, I asked the wrong person.
but I mean, it's going back to again being a.
Reverend, come back, please, Reverend.
It comes back to part timers again. He's going to disappear, and then he's going to show up, and he's going to tip over the apple cart, and whatever angle they're going to have to stop whatever angles they're working on to work this back in. I don't. I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't care for The Rock that much. So I would rather see Roman. But again, I'd like to see I want to see what spin they're going to put on it, because other than just getting a rematch, I want to see what they're going to do. Like how are they going to take this angle going forward? But I don't, to me, if you're going to do Cody Rock, do it at SummerSlam. Let's not wait a whole year. I don't want to wait a whole year. That just means The Rock's going to be another year older. And I guess at that point, you're guaranteeing Cody's going to be champion for the whole year. Again, you're taking a little bit of the unpredictability out of things. And the one thing I do fault WWE for is that they follow the formula and they don't deviate. And a lot of times you can kind of see what's going to happen. And it's like at that point, you're like, we were all like, oh yeah, Damon Priest is going to cash in. I think we all would have bet a ton of money on that was going to happen, and he was going to win. And I think we all picked Truth and The Miz to win one of the tag team belts.
You guys convinced me on that one.
So I mean, there's something to be said for shock and awe, and they lack that at this point.
So I feel like Roman has to beat Rock. I think that's a given. Rock beating Roman, that does nothing. Rock beating Cody, I could see that, and then maybe Cody wins in a rematch. I think, The Rock pinning Cody at night 1, there was a reason behind that. I think I definitely agree with you. Cody versus Roman. Do it at SummerSlam. Let's get this out of the way. I'm sorry that The Rock has a fucking shooting schedule. Too damn bad. You wanted to be on the board?
You mean Cody versus Rock? Because you said Roman.
I'm sorry. Cody versus, thank you. Cody versus Rock, I think needs to happen first because I think Roman has to beat Rock. Rock versus Cody. Rock beats Cody. You could come back to that. Rock versus Roman. It should be one time only, and that's it.
So
And Roman has to win.
So we have Cody versus Rock at SummerSlam. Does
Mm-hmm.
Roman interfere because he's the only one that wants to be champion?
You could do that too, or you could. I think this whole tribal chief story. Solo Sikoa last week when Tama Tonga made his debut said he was listening to the tribal chief. And some people have speculated Solo's anointed himself the tribal chief. What if it's actually The Rock?
And they boot Roman out? Because the rumor I heard is that they're going to have a Survivor Series. It's going to be all bloodline.
Yeah, I've heard that. But I feel like last week, because of what Solo said, and Heyman seemed very legitimately surprised, and Solo smashed Heyman's phone. If Roman's still really the tribal chief, I don't think Solo's doing that. And I think Solo being the tribal chief right now is too obvious. They had Rock acknowledge Roman Reigns. Now, in the entire career of Rock, especially when he got hot, did you ever see him really go out of his way to acknowledge anybody? It was so out of character for him in my mind. So I think Rock did legitimately try to help Roman at WrestleMania, but it didn't work. He dropped the ball. You know, we heard Triple H the night after Shawn Michaels dropped the belt to Stone Cold. He dropped the ball. I think this is similar here. And I think it was laughable that anyone really believed that The Rock was acknowledging Roman Reigns. I think Rock's really your tribal chief. And who knows? Maybe this goes all the way back to even Solo joining the bloodline in Scotland. They could very creatively frame this that Rock's been pulling the strings the whole time for everybody but Roman. And he knew how to manipulate Roman into doing what he wanted. Or he didn't see Roman as a threat, but once Roman thought he was bigger than The Rock, then okay.
So what happens to Paul Heyman in that scenario? Does he go with Roman?
I think so.
Because I could see him staying. Because he's a wise man.
I mean, it could go either way, but
wise man always stays with the winner.
But I don't think Roman, at least, not all the time, but Roman at least would listen to Heyman. Maybe not always agree with him, but he would let Heyman say his piece. Heyman has no influence on Solo Sikoa. That's a fact. It's obvious. If Solo was going to listen to Heyman, it makes sense. And when they showed up on SmackDown, I was like, okay, Heyman's still going to be involved. But the way that everything played out, I'm just like, I even before that, there was times that they hinted at Solo doesn't listen to him. Solo listens to one person. And we thought it was Roman Reigns, but could it be The Rock? All right, so we've left you a lot to contemplate there.
Do we want to wrap up? We've been going for about an hour and a half now.
Well, we started this phone call an hour and a half ago. I don't know if the show has been, but be that as it may, I was actually about to wrap this up as best I can. So, yes, the name of this podcast is still forthcoming. We're not sold out anymore. We're sorry we're not selling out to Freddie anymore. So, screw you, pal. You can still post it, but we're going to help you draw a little bit. And we thank you guys for viewing this, listening to this, whatever you chose to do. We want you to definitely come back. We don't know that we'll be on next week. We're going to rethink this thing a little bit as far as vision and title of the podcast and what have you. So we'll probably be back in about 2 weeks. I'll have a lot to talk about by then. We thank you guys for listening. Still follow the Sports Frenzy podcast on Instagram and on Facebook. Check out the OTBS podcast. They got some good stuff there. They're doing pretty well. And we hope to see you guys soon. Thank you for giving us a chance and bringing us into your viewing and social media lives. Have a great weekend all.